Hello cardboard lovers, it's Cardboard Badger here. I hope you're doing well, and today, very proud to bring to you a brand new deck tech. Super excited about this one. It's Boros colours, it's War of the Spark, standard legal, and we have named it Instance Matters. Based around 2 key cards, one of which is Feather the Redeemed. Amazing card. This is going to enable us to recast on each turn our instants and sorceries. But we are putting it alongside our other key card, a card which I have not seen on MTGARENA whatsoever, nor have I seen it on my LGS. It is the Buy Box promo from Dominaria, Firesong and Sunspeaker. So we will get into more detail about what exactly happens when these two cards go together, but it is a world of fun. But in the meantime, we will start with our 20 creatures. Starting with our 2-drops, we have 2 copies of Hero of Precinct 1, a 2/2 human warrior for 1 and a white, with whenever you cast a multicoloured spell, create a 1/1 white human creature token. A lot of this deck is multicoloured spells, so we should reasonably easily be able to create some of those 1/1 human creature tokens, which is going to be a massive help for us for most of the rest of our creatures as they have Mentor. Our second card in the 2-drop slot, we have Sunhome Stort. It is a human soldier 2/2 for 1 and a white. It's got first strike. That's also quite important in this deck. It also has Mentor, giving us the chance to obviously make our 1/1 human creature tokens 2/2s. And also that means we have +1 counters on our deck as well. And that is important for one of our lands that we will have later on, enabling us to proliferate and make our things bigger and bigger, and hopefully go in large. Next, we have we got 3. We got 3 copies. Apologies. We got 3 copies of Boros Challenger. For a red and a white, we have Human Soldier 2/3. It also has Mentor, which is very good. And for 4 mana, 2 red and a white. Boros Challenger gets a +1/+1 till the end of turn. So we could pump this up to then Mentor, and give all our other things that are 2/2s +1/+1 counters and make them larger as well. Hopefully a huge number of counters going on, which will just make our board wider and stronger. Next, we have Fresh-Faced Recruit. For 1 and a hybrid mana, a red or a white, we have a Human Soldier 2/1 with, as long as it's your turn, Fresh-Faced Recruit has first strike. So that is another card that we happen to have with first strike, which is important for something we have later on with a legendary enchantment. Our next creature, for 1 red and 1 white, we have 2 copies of Legion Guildmage. It's a human wizard, it's 2/2, and for 2 and a white, we can tap it, and we can tap down another target creature, or if we've got a huge amount of mana, and we have 6, 5, and a red, we can tap it, and it deals 3 damage to each opponent. So later on in the game, this can be fantastic. Obviously, it could possibly be larger than the 2/2 with our Mentor abilities as well, so it could stay around longer. So we have 2 copies of Legion Guildmage. So those are the 2-drops. Next, we have the 3-drops, starting off with 2 copies of Gutter Snipe. We have for 2 and a red, with Human Shaman 2/2, with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Gutter Snipe deals 2 damage to each opponent. This works absolutely fantastically with our 2 main cards, the Goblins and also Feather the Redeemed, because we can keep hopefully getting those instants and sorceries back, doing amazing things with our Minotaur, and draining or gaining life, depending on the colour of the card. Draining life for 2 with Gutter Snipe as well, and then obviously whatever the instant or sorcery does on top. And the great thing is, if we got Feather out, it's going to come back to our hand at the end of our turn, and we can do it all over again on our next. So 2 copies of Gutter Snipe. Next we have Feather the Redeemed. 2 copies, as I've just mentioned. Amazing card. And for 3 mana, we have our Legendary Angel. It's a 3/4 flyer, and when you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves, and if you do, you can return it back to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. This is fantastic. We can have a smaller number of instants and sorceries, but obviously have them return to our hand and recast and recast. So amazing, amazing card. It's also a flyer. It's also multicoloured as well. Yeah, works an absolute treat. Thoroughly, thoroughly enjoy this card. We also have another flyer. We have 2 copies of Sky Knight Legionnaire. For 1, a red and a white. We've got a human knight. It flies. It's got haste. And it is a 2/2. And this is really important. We've got some flyers now in the air. We've also got the fact that it's multicoloured. Flying and haste is also fantastic because of one of our legendary enchantments later on. So we do need a selection of creatures that will enable us to trigger and turn over our legendary enchantment, turning it into a land and doing some great things. Our next creature, we have 2 copies of Aurelia, Exemplar of Justice. For 2, a red and a white, we have a legendary creature. It's an angel. It's a 2/5. It's got flying. It's got mentor. And also, it has at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target creature you control. And until the end of turn, that creature gets +2/+0 and gains trample if it is red, and gains vigilance if it is white. This is good because we basically put it onto one of our multicolored creatures. So it will have both, which is amazing. Also, because it's got an extra 2 power, that could help us with getting that extra little bit of damage through, or maybe triggering Mentor. So amazing, amazing card. 2 copies of that. And our final 2, we have 2 copies of True Fire Captain. For red, red, white, white, we have a 4/3 human knight with mentor, and whenever True Fire Captain is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target player. This is fantastic. We can just have it out as a blocker because it's multicoloured with an artifact that we've got coming up later. It will be bigger. It will enable us to hopefully get counters on some of the smaller creatures as well, and getting more +1 counters across the board for one of our lands later on. And yeah, it's on curve with everything that we want to do in this deck. So 2 copies of True Fire Captain, but the final card, the greatest card in the deck that no one is playing whatsoever. We've got 2 copies of the legendary creature. It's the Minotaur. It's Fire Song and Sunspeaker for 6 mana, 4 red and white. And this card in this deck is absolutely fantastic. Alongside Feather, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, every time we do an instant or sorcery, for example, red, our spells give us lifelink, and whenever a white instant or sorcery spell causes you to gain life, which we do have, Fire Song and Sunspeaker deal 3 damage to target creature or player. And the fact that if we have this out with Feather the Redeemed, we are going to play that instant, and at the end of our turn, we're going to be able to have that come back to our hand, and we can replay it again. It is absolutely fantastic. We can gain life, we can gain card advantage, we can burn them with white, 3 damage per go every time we play a spell. It is a wonderful, wonderful card, and I am over the moon that we have actually managed to get this buy box promo into a deck that actually functions. And yeah, it is a surprise. So really, really pleased that this has worked out. And those are our 20 creatures. Instants and sorceries. We're going to start off in the 1-drop slot, starting off with 2 copies of Arrestor's Zeal. For 1 white mana, we have an instant with target creature gains +2/+2 till the end of turn, and if you cast this spell during your main phase, that creature gains flying until the end of turn. Nice bit of evasion, pump up our creatures and hopefully go in for the win, or maybe keep one of our creatures alive. The main thing is, all the instants in this deck, if we have Feather out, are going to come back to our hand, and we can reuse at a later date. Next, we have Moment of Triumph. 2 copies. For 1 white mana, we have an instant with target creature gets +2/+2 till the end of turn, and you gain 2 life. Great card, very similar to the previous card, Arrested the Seal, but the added bonus is if we're going to be gaining life from this, and we happen to have our Minotaurs out, it will burn our opponent for 3 because it is a white spell. And again, hopefully come back to our hand. There is a theme here. I hope you will all be able to see it. So yeah, 2 copies of Moment of Triumph, followed by 2 copies of Shock. For 1 red mana, instant, Shock deals 2 damage to any target. Next, we have 1 copy of a multicoloured spell, which will enable us to hopefully get a 1/1 white human creature token from our hero of Precinct 1. We have Integrity to Intervention. An instant, hybrid mana, red and white. Target creature gets +2/+2 to the end of turn. And later on in the game, we can play Intervention, an instant, 4 mana. 2 red and white with Intervention deals 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life, which gets very complicated if we happen to have our Minotaur out, because we're going to deal 3 damage to our opponent, and then we're going to burn them for 3 as well because it's a white spell, and we're going to gain 3. We're going to gain life gain for ourselves because it is red, and then with Feather in, we can then have it come back to us and do it all over again. It is ridiculous. Next, we have 2 copies of Justice Strike, an instant for a red and white. Target creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. So there's our removal. And we also have 1 copy of Path of Metal, legendary enchantment for a red and a white. Path of Metal enters the battlefield. It deals 1 damage to each creature that doesn't have First Strike, Double Strike, Vigilance, or Haste. And whenever you attack with at least 2 creatures that have First Strike, Double Strike, Vigilance, or Haste, transform Path of Metal. We should be able to transform this, because we do have quite a lot of creatures that have First Strike, and we also have stuff that will give our creatures Vigilance also. So if that is the case, we will then transform it into the legendary land that is Metzali, Tower of Triumph. This will enable us to tap and add 1 mana of any colour, but more importantly, for 1 and a red, we can tap it and deal 2 damage to each opponent, or for 2 and a white, tap it and choose a creature at random that attack this turn and destroy it. So we have removal and burn. 1 copy of this amazing land. Next, we have 1 copy for 2 mana, Glass of the Guild Pact, an artifact with multicoloured creatures you control get +1/+1. More than half of our creatures happen to be red-white, so they will all have +1/+1, which will obviously make them larger and hopefully keep them around a little bit longer. So 1 copy of Glass of the Guild Pact. Followed by our 3 drops, 2 and a white. We have 1 copy of Ritual of Rejuvenation. You gain 4 life and you draw a card. And if Feather is out, we can do it again, and we can do it again, and we can do it again. We also have 1 copy of Unbreakable Formation. Also 2 and a white. It's an instant. The creatures you control get indestructible to the end of turn, and if you cast this spell during your main phase, you can put a +1 counter on each of those creatures, and they gain Vigilance till the end of turn. So this is going to be a massive help. Board wipes. It will allow us to put +1 counters on everything, so we can use one of our lands later on, and we can also have them all have Vigilance, which will enable us to trigger and maybe get our Path of Metal to turn into that legendary land. So 1 copy of Unbreakable Formation, and followed by my favourite red card is Risk Factor. It's an instant for 2 and a red. Target opponent may have Risk Factor deal 4 damage to them. If that player doesn't, you draw 3 cards. This is absolutely fantastic because if you happen to have Feather out, you don't even get the opportunity to do the jump start, because it will just come back to your hand, replay it, back to your hand, replay it. It is amazing, absolutely amazing, and we will also gain life, as it is a red card, if we happen to have out our pair of Minotaurs. We also have for removal 1 copy in the 4 drops. It's 2 white, Settle the Wreckage, an instant with exile all attacking creatures target player controls, and that player may search their library for that many basic land cards, put those cards onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle their library. So that is 1 copy only. And that is it. Those are the instants and sorceries. We are now going to be going through the lands. We have 10 plains, followed by 9 mountains. We also have, for mana fixing, 2 copies Clifftop Retreat, 1 copy of Guildmage's Forum. This will enable us for 1 mana and tap it to add 1 mana of any colour, and if that mana is spent on a multicoloured creature spell, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. This is pretty good because obviously we do have quite a lot of creatures that happen to be red-white. They're multicoloured. That will enable us to put a +1 counter on it, which works absolutely fantastically. With our final card of the deck, it is another land, and it is Khan's Bastion. If we have creatures that happen to have counters on from Guildmage's Forum, or possibly from mental triggers, we can use Khan's Bastion. For 4 and tap it, we can proliferate. We can put counters on everything, and that will make our creatures mighty fine. So that is our final card of the entire deck. So there we have it. That is the end of the Boros Instance Matters or the Spark Standard Deck Tech. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know if you think Fire Song and Sun Speaker was a ridiculous idea, or if you were quite pleasantly surprised even. What was the bits that you think I should change, weaknesses, if there's anything at all that you feel would improve this deck. Write it in the comments below. Let me know. Let me know what your best bit was, what your worst bit was, and why. I'm always up for receiving comments, and obviously I will reply to as many as possible. It's a big old learning curve, but the main thing is it's been a world of fun putting this together. That's all I'm going to say. Other than that, I'd just like to say, links in the description if there is any other way that you would like to contact Cardboard Badger at all. We have daily foils on Instagram. We're also quite active on Twitter as well. And other than that, I'd just like to say, please like, share and subscribe, and we will see you again soon here on Cardboard Badger.